Hi, and welcome to the show. Conflict. Maybe you got your attention. Conflict is something in our lives that maybe we're a little afraid of, maybe we're avoidant, maybe we rush toward it a little too quickly. There's all different ways to approach conflict, but I think most of us don't enjoy it or want it or wish for it. There's conflict with our neighbors. There's conflict at work. There's conflict with a merchant. There's conflict with the police. There's conflict between children and adults, between teachers and administrators. The list goes on and on. You have a conflict. You're in the midst of it. You don't know what to do. Who are you going to call? Well, today I have the people that you call. I have representatives from Yamhill County Mediators, Chuck Pattishall, and Beth, help me with your last name.
Karecki.
Karecki. A long-time mediator. Wonderful
22 years.
22 years. Wonderful to have you today and hear from your experience. And Chuck, somebody new to the game, a lifetime of coaching and public speaking, but now you've brought your passion to mediation.
Yes.
And you have broadened the width of this program and the depth in your short time. How long have you been with the mediators?
Full-time about 4 months.
Wow, and I know already you've made a big splash, so they're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
When you came here today, Beth, what was on your mind that you wanted people to know about? What's on your heart?
To become believers, mediation's a process, but it has amazing results, and it can change people's lives.
That mediation can change people's lives.
Absolutely.
And that's why you're in it.
Absolutely.
Great. Maybe you have some history there of yourself. Have you always been a person that has been a mediator, or did sometime you ever need some help?
I think I've always been more of a mediator.
Okay.
I'm from a very large family, 12 of us, so
So
just
when
been the
this-
siblings.
you had to work things out.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Chuck? What's on your heart today? What do you want for people watching today to come away with?
It's more about education and letting people know what we do and the good things that come out of it, because our organization does a lot of things for the citizens of this county. And I find it's critical, and I'm passionate about getting out there and telling people this is what we do, and this is who we are.
Well, let's just let's start at the top. You get a lot of phone calls, and some are very interesting. People are having trouble. And what's one of the most common calls that you're getting these days?
It would be family mediation would probably be on the top of the list. Custody, childcare, divorce issues.
Okay, custody. Let's go there. What might that look like? A father calls up and says, I'm not able to see my child as much as I want, and my wife, my spouse won't talk to me.
I can
Help
give
me
you
out.
I can give you an example on that one. And this is in this situation, the wife called and said that she had issues with safety issues with her husband when the kids were with him. And she was going to be, they had been divorced somewhat like 5 years, and she was in a new relationship, actually was getting married again, and her ex was also in a relationship with a significant other. And they had the standard child custody agreement, that joint custody agreement that you can go online and see what it is with the state. Is pretty much the custodial parent has the child during the school year, and the other parent has them on Wednesday overnight and every other weekend. And then in the summertime, it's every 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. They're back and forth between the parents. That's kind of the boilerplate. And in this situation, they were living in different cities, and it made it more difficult because sometimes things change. The kids get older and they move to different locations geographically. It's not going to work, that type of situation, which I gave you the example of. So in this particular case, they all did come to the table, and I usually do a series of 3 mediations. The first one's with just the parents, and at that mediation, I'll never forget it. This guy came in with a big ton of paperwork, slams it down on the table, and says, "That's set in stone. That's what the court has decreed, and I am not moving."
Wow.
Yeah.
There's
so
your starting place. Go, Beth,
it's
go.
like a challenge
Now
to
what?
me, because, you just have to go, okay, we're neutral. We don't take sides. But, in our little brains, we have ideas that, we want it to be successful and we want them to reach an agreement. We want to help them as much as we can.
That's
but-
the gold standard, isn't it? That
Yeah.
they reach an
an ag-
agreement.
Absolutely, because that way they can move forward with their lives usually, and their lives become better. And
Okay, what happened?
Okay, so they both did agree to have, they had two boys. They were, one was about 10 and one was 15, I think. And they had, no, both of them were on board with having the boys come for the second mediation, because I explained that it's very important to hear what the boys want to, what their perception is and what they want, that they were old enough to be able to express their own opinions, and they were both very open to that. And when I did get the boys there, that little 11-year-old was incredible. He had some disabilities, and he, was so forthcoming. And I asked him about, things that he did with his dad, and he explained that he had gone on this rafting trip, and that he was on there. It was like whitewater rafting, and both boys were there with the dad and a bunch of other people. And he got separated from his dad. He said he was so scared that he thought he was going to go overboard and never see his mother again. And when his
That
dad,
story came home to Mom.
well, it came home to Dad,
Yeah, okay.
because Dad, all of a sudden, this light went on in his brain that he knew what his wife was talking about finally, about his son being safety issues and being scared. And when his son said that in his conversation with me, he put those pieces together and understood, and all of a sudden his attitude changed. It was like what we call a human connection. He understood, he got it, and that just totally opened him up to the process. But it was from his son that he, understood that. The next thing was, I asked the little boy what he would want to do in the summer, because his dad said that he wanted, he worked for a living, and he couldn't be with his son all day during the summer and that 2 week. So he would put him in these different summer camps. And I asked him, well, what do you think about going to summer camp? And he said he didn't want to go to summer camp because he was bullied. Dad knew nothing about this. He was totally shocked. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, well, he just loved these little girls that were the children of his dad's girlfriend, and he wanted to spend those summertime with them. And so, he was able to express his wishes. The older boy told his dad that he wanted to get a job that summer, and that Wednesday night was not going to work out for him, because if he tried to get a job and they were in different, like 40 miles apart, that it wouldn't work. And that could his dad be more flexible about that? And there also were issues with summer vacations, that both parents wanted to take the kids on their separate vacations, all this stuff. So I got this idea finally that I took a mediation agreement form and I gave it to the man, and I said, I want you to write your perfect ideal custody agreement. I want you to put everything in it that you want. The exact vacation days. I want you to check with your significant other. She's open to, doing what your son would like, for her supervising him those 2 weeks in the summer, every other week. Just do your ideal one and come back to our next session and we'll go over it. And the wife was on board with that. They left. I gave him his assignment, because I give homework sometimes, difficult homework. They came back the next week, and he handed me his ideal perfect agreement. I just handed it to the wife. She read it over and she signed it immediately.
That was easy.
And
But
then she
compared to what you came in with.
and then she made a donation to us because she was so excited about this all working out, so that she could go get married and not worry about all this, because it was just like everybody was happy. Both her boys got what they wanted.
Yeah.
They both cared about their kids. That was the crux of it. They both loved their children, and they were willing to listen to the boys. And the boys were just honest, as kids mostly are.
Yeah.
And so it all worked out.
You said that thing that you call a human connection. I would imagine sometimes people will come into mediation wanting to avoid that human connection because they know when they actually see the other person as a person, they're probably going to have to drop a few attitudes.
Yeah.
And people will try to hold back from that, right?
Yeah.
Behind paper, behind stories, behind, emotions.
Yeah, I think it was helpful that they both had decided to move on with their lives individually.
Oh, yeah.
So, when you're closer to the divorce date, it's a little more complicated. Or when you're going through the divorce process, I think I tell people that they're allowed a little bit of temporary insanity during that process because it's just human.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, just, I want to touch on the fact that you do ask for a $75 from each person that you mediate with. Is that right? In many cases.
Well, in the child custody agreements, because there's usually 3 sessions,
Uh-huh.
and there's also a questionnaire that's sent out ahead of time on a lot of these, which is, I don't know, 5 or 6 pages. And then we go over that before the mediation to see if they're on the same page or not. I did one recently where they came in, and I couldn't believe how similar all the opinions were of the both parties. They were, talking about divorce, and they were almost on this 100% match on everything, which kind of really surprised me.
When they interacted with the paper, they were much more
Yeah.
effective than when they were really
Exactly.
going back and forth. Well, that is a great story. Thank you. But I just wanted to make that point that now for a barking dog, maybe that would not be a charge.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. But if somebody has a child custody issue, and if they want to go lawyer up, they can pay $75 for maybe a 1 phone call and a letter, compared to
Right.
this success that you
Yeah,
have.
it's usually about 6 hours involved.
Yeah.
3 2-hour sessions.
Well, that's probably $1,000 right there.
Yeah.
6
Right.
hours of lawyers each. All right. Well, thank you for that.
And they have control of the process. The mediator does not. The 2 parties, the agreement comes from them.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's compromises, but they can go away feeling that they got something and that they were the author of the product, so.
So you're boots on the ground, you're going into homes. You've done some of that, Chuck. You are a trained mediator. But I heard you talk about education is probably what's top of your list. And there's so many programs that you have here. You want to educate people how to stay out of trouble. Conflict
Correct.
management, what do you call those classes?
Conflict management coaching.
Yes, coaching, okay. And just running down this list, family situations, elder issues. There's another one. You get phone calls about that.
Yes, and it's becoming, it's highly specialized training for our mediators. And because of the baby boomer group right now, which I'm on the tail end of that, it's becoming more and more of an issue in the country with elder mediation. And so we have 5 people that are highly trained in elder mediation specifically.
Because the adult kids don't agree with what should happen to grandma, and grandma doesn't agree with either of them,
A lot
perhaps.
of those issues swirling around.
Yeah,
yes,
who
yes.
can drive and not drive.
Correct.
And
Correct.
when we sell the house and move the furniture try to move the furniture into
Care home.
the care home. Right, so there is help around that.
Yes,
Yamhill County Mediators.
yes.
Yep.
there
All
is.
right. Got conflict, we can help. Very good. Well, this list is overwhelming. Consumer and merchant disputes, workplace and business issues. We were chatting before, and I thought, with unemployment so low, that employers may be a little more motivated to call in some help in resolving issues with employees than firing them, because they can't find another employee so easily these days.
Right.
Is that something you're working with?
Yes, we're doing that right now. We're getting ready to roll this out where we're going to offer conflict management training to businesses. So it could be for executives, it could be for managers, employees, for all the employees on how to deal with conflict, coupled with so many hours of mediation. And what that does when we offer these workshops, if you will, or like a seminar, to do this conflict management training, is that you're going to see lower liability claims from the business, EEOC claims, civil liability claims, people that, I want to quit or I'm going to sue you because I'm not happy, increased productivity, managers learning how to deal with conflict, and not just conflict, but how to communicate through that conflict productively, right?
So this is an investment They charge for those services when you
Yes.
go to corporate. This is going to save them money in the long run.
Oh,
For all
yes.
those reasons you just mentioned. So if someone's here that's watching the show, is maybe in a position to do that in their business, or an employee might be going in and saying, hey, this is something I just saw the mediators will help with. They could mention that to the boss, and the boss might be interested. So, yeah, I want people to be able to use this incredible service because it's good for the community.
Right.
Right.
And we can custom make that program for them based on their needs.
All right, juvenile victim offender cases. That sounds really down into the nitty-gritty.
I can speak to that. I've done quite a few of those. We've had 2 different programs, and we get the referrals from the juvenile department, and it's an alternative to being incarcerated. So there's a real incentive for the juvenile. The hard part of those is to get the victim to the table because they want to know what's in it for them. So that's the challenge. One of my, if you want to call it a technique, back when I was doing those, is I would appeal to their sense of community and to help a young person who, went astray and help them get back on track because they would be doing a community service for this young person. And usually most people would step up to the plate and say, oh, okay, I'll do it then.
Because the recidivism rate is way down when a juvenile goes through.
Absolutely. This has been proven nationally. A lot of states have the same program, and there's a whole, there's a lot of hard data that how effective it is. And it's pretty amazing to work out these restitution settlements between the victim and the offender. And I've seen some amazing results on that front, and friendships even made over what had been a crime. It's pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I did one that a number of young people did TP to house, and they were charged with malicious mischief, which doesn't seem like that bad of a crime. But however, a young person in that home was traumatized, a young 5-year-old, who thought that
They were really under threat.
that they were under attack and that they were going to get killed, and she was just traumatized. And it wasn't until we did this mediation and that little 5-year-old talked about her experience that these young people understood that what they did was very wrong and very hurtful to this child.
Wow.
And they did a 180 on their attitude, and they agreed to do cut up wood for the parents, because usually these kids don't have money, so these are usually, some kind of give back to the community projects, and they said that they would cut up all this wood. And so the family that were the victims said that the kids were going to come on a certain day. There were like 5 kids, and they were going to do all this big work project, and they invited those kids to have a barbecue with them afterwards and invited their parents to come. So it went from being this terrible experience to a bonding between families. It was pretty amazing.
Wow. Chuck, you are rolling out a lot of programs right now. You've been there, 4 months? And you are a dynamo, from what I can see and
Well, thank you.
understand from those that know
Type
you.
A.
Thank you.
What are you excited about right now? What's top of your mind that just gets you out of bed? I've got to get this done.
These 3 programs that we discussed, the peer-to-peer mediation, the working with law enforcement, referral-based system, especially the business system, actually stimulates me for this organization to move forward and to grow.
Just slow down a little bit. Fill us in with the peer-to-peer mediation and then the law enforcement place. Break that down for us a little bit.
Peer-to-peer mediation, one of our mediators is a published author, and she's come up with curriculum for training.
Kathy
and
Beckwith.
Kathy Beckwith.
She's been on the show.
And she's a TEDx speaker. And she worked to build a system in Dayton grade school on peer-to-peer mediation, where the students are, it's almost like peer-to-peer court, but the adults aren't involved. The kids take care of this mediation. And so now our office has taken on the role. We're talking to McMinnville High School right now and Newburgh High School. We want to put it out in the middle schools, where our office will go in and train these teachers or parents that want to build this program with the kids. And so you have kids that want to be mediators. So I will train the trainer, if you will, with the adults, and then help them train these kids on a mediation, peer-to-peer mediation-based module, so that when you have kids in conflict, instead of them having to deal with an adult in mediation, they deal with their peers who are trained in this. And so we see a lot of good things happening with, like, lower truancy, higher grades. We're stopping conflict before it gets out of hand, could get criminal, or suspensions or expulsions. And so these systems have been proven all over the country to really help in our local communities.
So changing lives.
Absolutely. I did play coaching with these young kids, grade school kids in Dayton, and they were amazing.
And Chuck, then you said law enforcement.
Right.
What's
Law
involved in-
enforcement is kind of, I think, critical. Back, 25 years ago, I was a deputy, so I have that experience as well as business also. But I was working with our local chief of police, getting ready to meet with our sheriff and the Newburgh chief of police, where we can come up with a referral-based system. So when a deputy or an officer is out in the field and they have a call that's civil in nature, it's not criminal, they can refer certain types of cases, and we go over that to us. They can now make a notation, clear the call. They're saving person hours. Give it to us, let us take over, try to do a mediation, and then we can provide that data back to the office on the productivity of that. And now we're finding a way to save the cities or the counties money by instituting this program, and that has been proven in big cities and small cities all over the country. So we're excited about that.
I wanted to mention that we have actual booklets that are in triplicate that are given to the police departments, that they write them out and recommend mediation and give them to the people like tickets. It's just kind of interesting.
Well, I often feel like we ask way too much of our law enforcement officers, our peace officers. They need to be ready to take down someone that is causing harm right in front of them to the ground. And they have to have these soft skills of mediating. Please, can't they get some help?
Yeah.
And if they can hand off all these conflicts that they go and they're just listening to this back and forth, and it's not the place or the venue. When you've gotten people together that have agreed to come to the table, rather than there's a policeman at the door and there's two people talking to him at the same time,
Right.
that's not going to work probably. And if they can pass that off.
Yeah, we joke about the barking dogs, and we joke that
Yeah.
our board chair, Renee Vorm, she's our expert on barking dogs.
Really? I want
Yeah.
to hear more about that.
But we got so many of them for a period of time because, if you've ever had a neighbor that has a barking dog, it can drive you crazy.
I can just imagine. It makes my kind of hair stand up right now. I'm thinking about it. Bark, 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 bark. Bark, bark, bark,
Yeah,
bark.
yeah.
Bark, bark. On through the night. How do you solve that problem? What's in that tool bag?
Well, they actually have different solutions for that, but hopefully you'll never have to, find out what they are.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think the point today is that it's a lot more than about barking dogs. I mean, we have touched way down into the roots of human relations here, in so many areas. What's another one, Chuck, that you're excited about? You talked about the law enforcement piece where you can help unload mediation from our law enforcement. You talked about the peer-to-peer mediation, which I
Right.
just think is marvelous. What's another program that you're excited about?
Well, we talked about the business program.
Yeah.
With going into businesses and providing conflict management training for the employees. One of the things that I think we discussed a little while ago is when in mediation, both parties have to agree to come to the table. And if one party says, nope, I'm not doing it, there's no way in heck that I'm going to do it, then we can't move forward. We have to close the case and say, okay. A lot of things happening in the mediation circles right now around the country are, what about that person that has so much conflict that they can't bring themselves to come to the table for mediation? And conflict coaching, which is more one-on-one, where mediation can be parties, multiple parties or two parties. And it's a way for our centers to start expanding that service for those people instead of just saying, we can't help you, I'm sorry, goodbye, have a nice life. We can open that door of, well, would you be willing to do some conflict coaching? And we have some conflict coaches. I am one, and we've had four other people in our organization go through the training to meet one-on-one with a conflict coach to maybe help you get through this conflict, which can be very traumatic and a crisis for people. And could that possibly get you to a place where now we can focus on this issue over
Yeah.
here to provide mediation services to help deal with that issue? So,
We also have not talked about facilitation, Chuck. We do facilitation for large groups. We've done many in our community locally.
Churches, perhaps.
We've done a number of them for churches.
Now, you rolled your eyes.
Yeah, because you think, one would think that the last place that you would have conflict would be in a church, but that is not true.
Well, we're all human. I go to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and my light bulb just went on. Sometime we might need some mediation,
Yeah.
and I will be sure to call.
I've done a number of them for different religions in our McMinnville community. One was over dogma, and certain people didn't like the songs that were chosen.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
things like that.
Well, I would, there's, conflicts come up around various things with churches. We're looking for another place to meet. And so we might need some help having a fruitful discussion about that.
Well, one of the techniques that we use on some of those type of facilitations is we have what we call a talking piece, and it might be a stone or something. And whoever has that stone is the only person that can talk at that moment in
Yeah.
time, so that you don't get that everybody's, sprouting out their opinions simultaneously. Instead, only one person has the floor.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing process. And we also brainstorm different solutions with the whole group. And then we give them like a series of dots, and we put them on whiteboards or in paper, and they can say each person gets 5 dots, and if they want to put all 5 dots on one issue, they can,
Yeah.
or they can put them on 5 different issues. But whichever issue has the most dots goes to the top of the list. So that's sort of pretty equal. Everybody gets the same amount of dots, and it's pretty amazing how that works. I've also done a facilitation for the homeless issue at one of the churches here, and we had 3 mediators there, and we had the homeless people and people from the church, and
You are right at the heart of the community's issues.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
yeah, and facilitations are, not only that for like in business, one that stands out in my mind that we've been doing recently is that there's a state mandate for HOAs, homeowners associations. And it was mainly built on, somebody that's in that homeowners association that has a home and they have a problem with the homeowners association board, that they have to go to mediation first. We're finding though, there are some boards, nonprofit boards, there's the one that we just finished doing where the board can't get along. And so
Yeah.
we have one of our facilitators go in and she has been helping out them on different sessions with, working out the issues with their bylaws and how they see things and to make their board run more efficiently. So we've also been doing that. So it's pretty fascinating stuff, the facilitation stuff.
I've done one with the senior center here in McMinnville with the board of directors some years ago.
Let's just spend the last few seconds putting you guys on the map for folks. This is your new logo, Yamhill Community Mediators. Where are you physically? You have an office?
We have an office on 3rd Street upstairs above RJ Studio.
Okay.
It's 237 Northeast 4th Street.
All right.
And we do a lot of our mediations there. We have a boardroom up there.
Okay.
Not only just our offices, but
You've
a
got
boardroom.
brick and mortar, you've got a website, you've got phone number, you're here to help. This has been very comforting for me to hear about all these issues that can come up in our community, and there is a place that people can call.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your lifetime of dedication, and thank you for your new passion, Chuck, and bringing this to the community in a larger, expanding way. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks
You're
for having
welcome.
us. Thank you.